Hello friends! One of the scariest places in Oxygen Not Included is definitely the space biome, and specifically in the base game. It's kind of different with spaced out as well. But, as you can see here, you'll be subjected to meteor showers and all kinds of scary things. However, this is a place that you need to get if you're going to run rocket missions and those kinds of things to eventually complete the game, breach the temporal tear, do some of the later game things. So I figured it would be good to talk about this and kind of build a setup for how to enter space. So let's get started. Alright, let's talk about what you're going to need in order to build this setup. First of all, you're going to need a pretty stable power grid. That's mostly for everything else you're going to be getting. You will be generating some power with this setup, but you will need some initially first, so make sure you have a good power grid going. Secondly, your duplicants are going to obviously need Atmo suits because you're working out in space, so you'll want to grab those and make sure you have those set up and good to go. Third is steel. A lot of things that we're going to be building out here are going to require some steel production, so make sure you got a good amount of it before you head out. You'll also need a cooling loop, only because the stuff that is raining down from the sky is going to be very hot. We need a way to cool down the rest of our stuff so it doesn't overheat. You also need a good amount of either diamond or glass. That's just because we need something that's going to stop the stuff that's going to fall down, make sure it doesn't hit our solar panels, and also so it can see through to generate energy. Also, we're going to need some kind of metal volcano, because we're going to need to consistently make blast shot, which is going to take refined metal. And finally, the last thing you need is a sink, and don't ask questions why. Okay, let's get started. In all of my Let's Build videos, it's going to look something like this down where my duplicants live, and I am going to build with duplicants, so it's a little bit more representative of what it'll be like in a real game. But I am going to use some debug stuff just to help us get started. I need to turn this off and stop loading this. I'm going to use some debug stuff just to help us get started, and because you can't build out the entire base within one scope, or rather within the scope of one video, so we're going to do that. Also, let me turn off my sandbox tools and my auto build and all that fun stuff. Let me make sure it's off really quick. Yeah, okay, cool. And I think, yep. Alright, so now this should behave more like a real game. Alright, so I'm just going to assume that your food is taken care of, your oxygen situation's taken care of, your power is good to go. Before we get started here, so once you have all that done, might be later in the game. I think I usually don't get to this part until maybe like cycle 250 or something like that. I'd have to double check. But yeah, so here's what you want to do. First of all, we need to get out into the biome. So I'm going to start off by building a bunch of Atmo suits docks. Something like that. You can build one for as many duplicants as you have, but they won't necessarily all be working at the same time. I'm usually going to stick at about 16 duplicants in the base game, so that's where I stopped. Just, I guess, by coincidence, they happen to line up. And then I'm going to set up a station, which is going to be our Atmo suit checkpoint to get out there. We're also going to need to set up a liquid lock, which you can do it a couple of different ways, but this is the most basic way that I've seen and I've done a lot. Do something like this. Once they build this out, oh, we need to first assign all of our suits. Let's do that. Deliver. 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 I wish there was a faster way to do this. So once they're going to get all of our suits there, we obviously need to start sending oxygen here and start powering it. For the time being, I'm just going to disable this so they can still work out there, and I'll get them in their suits after just a little bit. I'd ideally like to not cut away if we don't have to, but sometimes we might. Oh, I also might need to also spawn some extra materials just because I don't want to have to go get all of them, like go down in a map and stuff like that to go get them. So I'll usually spawn them all kind of like right here where everyone's sleeping on the floor for some reason. Oh, I don't have enough beds. Guess that explains it. Okay, so once you have your suits up, you're going to want to set up a liquid lock. So I'm just going to use some water. I have something, I have a cake that I baked earlier that is right here, so we can use this right when we're ready. And you want to put it on some automation just to make sure that this doesn't overfill. So just a hydro sensor right next to it. Hook it up with some automation wire. This water that's down here, this water I'm just going to treat as like a renewable source that comes from somewhere that I can use. This is going to be my cooled water. I did mention that you're going to want some kind of cooling loop in the requirements section to make sure that you can keep everything out in space cool. So what's going to happen is this is all going to fill up. We'll just skip this part just for the sake of it. So, water. Add about this much. There. So now we have a liquid lock here so that the Air cannot escape this area. It will not be able to leave our base, because if it goes out into space in this area, especially when it says space exposure, it's just going to get deleted. So we don't want that to happen. So there's our liquid lock. Our duplicates will be able to pass through in order to get out into space. You can set your hydro sensor to whatever you want, really, like below some amount. I'm just going to leave it at 500 because that seems fine. Also going to assume that you have heavy watt wire run up here, so I'm just going to connect all of my suit stations with that. And then I will just put a... oh, whoops, I need to turn off my sandbox tools. I'll just put a heavy watt joint plate here to let the power kind of flow through onto the other side. I don't usually want to do this, but let me do this just so that these can get filled up here really quickly. Let me edit to forward to where they're going to be all filled up so we can actually get started building out there for real. Okay, our suits are pretty much ready. Just added a bunch of extra sandbox tools here to get them filled up faster. These are not in the real game, just in case you're not familiar with what these are. They're just a way for me to basically cheat and get a bunch of oxygen in here so we can get started. So yeah, let's start digging out here. What you're going to want to do is just get a ladder to start off and just build it straight up like this. Up until you're reaching over the top of most of what's going to be here. If you have to dig through this, it can be kind of annoying, so if you can avoid it, that would be better. And then once you get up high enough, you're going to want to start building bunker tile that's within a couple spaces of your ladder, but also going to give enough space for a few rows of things. Maybe we should go a little bit higher than this, maybe like here. So that we can build everything else out here. The bunker tile is going to be the thing that resists the impacts from the meteors, and that's definitely the biggest problem when you're out here. So I'm just going to build out ladders kind of like this. Duplicates should be getting started. Yeah, so they're going to be a little bit slow here at first because they have to build them one at a time. I'm going to also build a fire pole just so my duplicates can get up and down the ladders a little bit quicker. So I'll cancel that. While you're building out here, if it's during a meteor shower, sometimes your duplicates will get hit or sometimes your buildings will get hit. It's not too big of a deal most of the time. If your buildings get hit, they will get damaged, but the bunker tile is going to be there to prevent that. And then we'll deal with the rest of it here in just a bit. So they'll be busy building this out, so I'll just kind of keep explaining what's going to happen here. I'm not going to build this out too far to begin with. Just about this far for right now. It obviously looks kind of large because there's it's going to be very wide, but we want to reserve a good amount of space here because we're going to want to build some meteor blasters, and we're going to want to build solar panels and that kind of stuff. So while they're busy doing that, let's talk about the meteor blaster stuff. So, with your meteor blaster, it's going to be located here in rocketry. This is going to take blast shot, though, and you're going to need an extra building to be able to build that. So that is going to be located, I think, in refinement, or is it also here? Where is it? Who did this? It's right here. It's in stations. So if you build yourself a blast shot maker, I'm just going to connect it up by heavy watt wire. We'll see what it's going to take in order to make blast shot. But that's kind of like the dev intended way of dealing with meteors, as far as I can tell. We also need people that can specialize in that, so let me just do this really quickly and get them assigned. Sure, you're going to need it, and you, and you. Sure, why not? Okay, there we go. Turn that back off. I think should be good. Shouldn't auto-build now. Yeah, okay. Alright, so on your blast shot maker, you're going to need an intake of petroleum. So we will definitely need to spawn something really simple for that. This is going to also assume that you have petroleum, which I guess I probably should have put in the requirements section, but, you know, I didn't. Let's just pretend it was there. Why not? We'll have our duplicates build out this section here really quickly, and we'll get our petroleum hooked up when it's time. But the recipes that are on here, once you have the right ingredients for it, will just basically be to make blast shot. I will eventually want to auto-sweep this stuff, too, into the places that it's going to go. So you'll want to set up an auto-sweeper that looks something like this. We're going to need duplicates that are actually capable of building that, so... Oh. Turn this on again. No, come on, game. Why? There we go. Just need a few of them specializing in mechatronics engineering so they can build out our shipping network. Because you can have your duplicates manually load your meteor blasters with this, but it's so much slower that I'd rather just do it automated. And we'll put a conveyor loader next to that. This is so that the, whoops, auto sweeper can just pick up the blast shot that's been created and load it in here. And then you're just going to want to set up a conveyor rail that can run out into your space biome and load up your meteor blasters. Something like this. There we go. Oh, we need to we need to re-enable our checkpoint so our duplicates can actually build out here. Why did this delete? We're making... Oh my... This is one of the dangers of being out here, but yes. That was awesome. Alright, duplicates are getting scalded because of how hot that was. You can also build your bottom tiles out of ceramic or something like that, just to prevent any issues with it. Let me also spec my duplicates to work a little bit faster in their suits. So we'll just do something like this. Can I just click this? No, I have to click each one. That's lame. Duplicates might not have great morale, by the way. I'll have to just add a couple of other things to help them get better morale if this becomes a problem. But yeah, that'll be a thing. And these are all like brand new dupes. You won't typically have this problem with them being so slow. But because this is like a debug version, they're all going to be really slow, crappy ones. No offense, Rowan and Stinky, but you're not very good at your job right now. Alright, so, like I mentioned, sometimes stuff is going to get hit, so they'll just come back here and repair it. Not too big of a deal, but that was like a perfect shot, right down the tube of where all our duplicates were sitting. No one died, though, so that's a good thing. Just a couple of minor injuries. Alright, once your duplicates start to put, like, the ceiling on here, this is what I'm going to call it with your bunker tile, you can start mining out the rest of this, too. I'm going to wait for them to expand this a little bit further. Let's see how all this is going. I want to make sure they can actually still get in there to build this out. This is just going to be for petroleum. I guess I don't necessarily need duplicates to do this for me, because this is like a debug part, so I'll just do this. Turn on my sandbox. Cancel all this. I'll just get this going real fast. There we go. Fill with petrol. There we go. And we'll run it into our blast shot maker. The pipe. This would normally not be set up this way, so it's not like you would have just a square petroleum sitting somewhere, but again, just quick debug stuff. Also have some debug power generators I'm just going to hook this up to. Okay, now we should be able to make blast shot. Do we not have the right materials for it? I think we might need a different refined metal. Let me brush out some copper. There we go. This is why I was mentioning you're going to need a metal volcano so that your duplicates can actually create this reliably. So there we go. Now that we have copper, we can just keep this going forever, basically. And we'll start pumping everything in, and your duplicates will get over here, and they will start making blast shot when they get a chance. Then we will want to spec our conveyor loader to only be able to load blast shot, but we need to make one first before it'll actually be available in the filter. So let's see. Oh, I should probably change this. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Come on, game. Let me just struggle with the debug tools a little more. Okay, there we go. Alright, first round of blast shot is pretty much done here. Nisbet would just press the buttons faster. Come on. Okay, now that we got one on the ground, let's go ahead and spec this. This is going to be an industrial product. Our sweeper is going to load it into there, and then it'll just go up on this conveyor rail, which is going to go into our meteor blasters here in just a minute. Alright, duplicates are making a lot more progress. Let me turn off the sandbox tools so they don't auto-build a bunch of stuff. Make sure that it's off. Yep, okay, cool. So, once you have the hood on, you can start digging the rest of this out. So I'm just going to dig out in little chunks like this. I'm going to start, like, maybe here. We'll leave a space for ladders every once in a while, just so that we can have duplicates be able to move out there still. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, just drop some ladders here. You can make it out of mafic rock out here, too, because it's more available than the other stuff that's going to be inside your base. Like, the mafic rock is the stuff that's already sticking out here. So if your duplicates don't need to run around to get materials, that's a lot better to do it that way. Expand this hood just a little bit more. Some igneous, or rather, some mafic rock ladders. Okay. Once we get one of this area all mined out, we will start building up the Meteor Blaster. And start setting up everything else we're going to need to keep that running. Yes, yes, ceiling collapse. You're going to want to build your meteor blasters kind of high up. You don't want to leave too much space between the top level and where everything else is going to go. So, like, and you also don't really want to build it too far away. So you have to kind of find like a midpoint here for your duplicants to work, so it doesn't take them forever. I'm counting in my head. And also just so that your duplicants aren't wasting, or sorry, just so that your meteor blasters actually have enough time to react to whatever is coming down and hit it before it smashes into something. These meteor blasters also aren't 100% reliable. Sometimes they can like make mistakes or not react quickly enough if there's a lot going on. So we'll kind of cover them a little bit, but it'll do the job like 99% of the time. Alright, I did mention that you're going to need something to build this layer out of, which is going to be out of either diamond or glass. I did list diamond more preferably because that is a lot more available a lot of the time, especially in the base game. It'll be down in the oil biome if you haven't been down there before. Yeah, here's a big pocket of it right here. I only had to reveal this part so I could delete a battery. We would get the notification that a building was overheating. But yeah, so you should have a good amount of diamond. That's what I'm going to build this out of. So I'm just going to start off by building something like this. I don't know quite how wide it needs to be yet. But the blast shot, or sorry, the meteor blaster is going to be a little bit taller than the typical 4 tiles. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra space. Then I'm going to grab our meteor blaster and put it down like this. We will also need some kind of backing here. Ooh, what should we use? Let's use the watermelons. You need some kind of backing here to hold water and stuff like that, because the water is going to be what keeps everything else here cool. You could theoretically just run this meteor blaster for as long as possible because it doesn't overheat, but it will eventually melt. And that's probably not what you want, so yeah, let's not do that. Alright, got our watermelon backings here. I think this is enough space because the only 3 things that we need now are a auto sweeper, because if debris is hit by this meteor blaster, it's still going to fall in here and it's going to be really hot. I want to get that debris out of here so that we're not spending as much energy cooling this stuff down. Oh, by the way, you want to make this out of steel, if you can. Only because sometimes it will get hit by really hot materials. You don't want it to overheat. You have to come back out here and fix it. So anytime you have an auto sweeper, you usually have a conveyor loader. And those conveyor loaders are just going to be so we can get rid of the material and put it somewhere else. The easiest way to store stuff out in space, just to make sure that it doesn't interact with anything else, like temperature-wise, is just to put it on like a mesh tile. So I'm just going to drop it like that. And then shipping, I'll just put a conveyor chute like right next to it and connect this straight up to that line. So that, oh, I don't want it to run through here as much as I can. Just connect it straight up to that line so that whatever this thing encounters, which will eventually be like regolith and iron and a bunch of stuff that you don't really want sitting in here, it'll just ship it straight down and get it out of there. I'm also going to run heavy watt wire pretty much all the way up here, only because a lot of stuff is going to be connected by this, and I'm going to need to build this with solar panels as well, and solar panels are going to want to be connected to your heavy watt wire, so you could do that. If you have a lot of refined metal, you could do that instead. That's also totally fine. Alright, now we need to put a little bit of water in here, so I'm going to grab a liquid vent and I'm going to put it here. Also going to make sure that I have backing for that. So another watermelon tile there. This is just drywall, by the way, in case you're wondering, like, what is this watermelon he's talking about? And then I'm going to put an a hydro sensor just to make sure that there's enough water here, and I'm only going to keep this vent open if we need more water in there. This vent is just going to be connected up to our same line that we used to fill up the water with this. So, let me see. I need to plan all this out so we can get our cooling back and forth. Whatever. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And this one I'm going to kind of come over the top like that. And this is just so that we're going to be cooling all this stuff with some pipes here in just a second. So if we're below 500 kilograms, that's pretty good. You could probably increase it by a little bit here, but yeah, whatever. And then anything we find, we just want to get off of this platform. Because most of this is going to be really hot. Why is this saying I don't have anything? Oh, it's because it's igneous rock. Place. What? Game, what in the world was that? I don't understand why it does that sometimes, but... We're getting all kinds of weird happenings in this video. Okay. So, now that we have this, our water is going to be coming in. The last thing we need to do is cool it. You're going to want to build these out of radiant pipes just so it can keep it cool. And just do something simple like that. And then you're going to have it go in and out of this pipe. So one way in, one way out. It doesn't really matter which way. And then we're going to need to run these pipes down into where we have our cooling setup. And I'll cover cooling setups and that kind of stuff in later videos. So this seems like a lot. That's because some of this is kind of required knowledge before this makes any sense. But if you can find a way to keep some water that's around 2C, then yeah, that's great. All right, so igneous rock, we'll go ahead and drop some right here. Just kind of create a line of it. Then we're going to need to build up a ladder or something like that so duplicates can actually reach. They're all very happy. Or someone looks really good, I don't know. All right, we're almost ready. We need to make sure to run our blast shot line out here too. So this, from our blast shot maker, should be running all the way up and straight into these machines. Sometimes the machines will say that they don't have any, even though there's some on the line. I haven't quite figured out what that's all about, but you should be fine as long as it's all connected, and as long as you're continuously making it. I will mark this as continuous, only because I'm going to make the assumption that you have taken a volcano of one of these varieties that will continually give you metal. It doesn't take a lot in order to make something, only like 25 kilograms. So one metal volcano can usually push this. Plus, once you get a good surplus built up, you start needing it a little bit less and less. So, yeah. Alright, so we're pretty much filled up with water. Our hydro sensor is just going to re-request water in case some of it gets moved or boiled off or something like that, which I have seen happen before. So yeah, this is pretty much ready. Now, once you have this done, you can just deconstruct the roof. And these will list the ranges that they can like attack, basically. I don't really know a better way to say that. I will typically want their ranges to overlap just a little bit, so you can make this as dense or as sparse as you feel like you need. But once it's opened up, you can see once we delete the roof here, then it can start seeing what's out there. If you need to dig out any extra stuff before you start to remove this, you can just create another bunker tile that's like one space next to it, so your duplicates can just hop up here, dig it out, and then get rid of the rest of the ceiling. Auto, this is awkwardly slow. Alright, there we go. So now that we got that, you want to make sure your duplicates are off before you start digging everything up, or rather, deconstructing stuff. Turner, get off. There we go. Then if any meteors come down, this will basically just shoot it as long as it has blast shot to use. What in the world? Oh, I don't... I don't have good enough things to satisfy their morale. I totally forgot about that. So, let's build something for them really quickly. There's a couple rooms we're probably going to want here. One of which is going to be a nature reserve, and the other one's going to be a great hall, so we might as well just set that up really quick. I still need this. I can probably destroy it. There's enough tiles for this. Banshee wailing. I don't even think I've ever seen that before. There we go. We'll turn that into a nature reserve and this into a great hall real quick. Get some mess tables in here. Something like that, maybe. Is this enough? No. Why do you guys all have to complain so much? Let's do this. Make this our nature reserve. And destroy that. Build this out here. Cancel these. Whoops. I guess this only really needs to be one way. Just build a fire pole. There we go. Is this enough tiles? Should be, I think. So, nature reserve, we just need to... I'm going to turn my cheats on here really quickly just so I can go faster. Need to get a sandbox in here, brush in... Sure, why not some copper? And then we just need to put in some plants. So, let's see... What kind of plants do we want here? Just joyous cactuses, I guess. There we go. Oh, we will need one more. Which is going to be our park sign. I have never seen that before. That is funny. Okay, now we should be good. Let's hook up our sinks here to make sure that they clean their hands before they eat. And we'll clean the floor. There we go. Get a lot more berry sludge. Oh, I messed it up. Gotta do all the clicking. There we go. Alright, we'll hook up our water, and then we'll get back to the space setup here. Getting distracted by all my duplicants being sad. That's crooked. Whatever. They can still get out of here, right? Yeah. Okay, now we need a couple more buildings to make this a great hall. Then my duplicants should be plenty happy enough with the food that they're getting. And the nature reserve. Yeah. We need to make this its own room. I'll probably need to destroy that. Almost done. What a really inconvenient sidetrack. I should have just built this earlier. I don't know why I'm being so lazy. And this needs to not let anybody through. There we go. They should be better now. Alright, anyway, back to the point. We got our Meteor Blaster up here. Let's just create a second one really quickly so we can see how this would all expand. We turn off my tools here so my duplicants are forced to come build. Like I'm going to do with pretty much any type of expansion, it's just going to be ladders to extend out here and just kind of dig out the stuff that's in the way. Something like this, and then also make sure that your bunker tiles are extended, just to give yourself some coverage for where else you're going to be building. Something like this. Could prioritize this to be a little bit higher, just because the ceiling is more important than the ladders that are down below, so get that going. In the meantime, if you do have glass, which you'll probably want glass by now, we can start getting... Oh, no, doing some stress vomiting. Well, it'll get better over time. Alright, let's spawn ourselves some glass, just because I didn't do that yet. Glass. Well, I should be doing more than this. What am I doing? What does a natural glass tile look like? Alright, once we get glass, we can start setting up our solar panels here. But the whole idea is to basically make a layer above the solar panels so that nothing falls on top of them. If I were to leave this how it is right now and we were to destroy a meteor, the debris would fall down, and this debris is extremely hot. It would start to break our solar panels, so we need to create a layer of protection here. I also don't want to extend out my diamond as much as possible, because I want to cool the least amount of it that I can get away with. So I'm going to separate this with a mesh tile. Whoops. Turn off. Is this off? No, I never know. And then I'll start the diamond tiles again, like this. We might not necessarily need ladders on this level yet. Need to wait for the lower levels to get done, though. Once we get this further out, you can kind of judge how far out you want to build your next Meteor Blaster. I haven't figured out a, like, perfect spacing, but ultimately it's like the resources that it's continuously consuming are not that bad, so you can put them kind of close to each other. I don't know. It's up to you to fill this out, but I've had problems if I space them out too much where, like, they won't cover themselves and their neighbors quickly enough if there's, like, a really busy meteor shower, so yeah. Actually, this probably could just be built out of gold amalgam. You don't necessarily need to make that out of steel, because these don't overheat. Okay, that's better. Cool. Once we get this, we'll have a nice solid line, and there's going to be nothing on top of this that's going to block the efficiency of our solar panels. So we'll get that set up here in just a second, as soon as we get our second one set up. So same thing as before, just a steel robot arm thing, auto sweeper. I don't know what the name of anything is. Who cares? Connect it up to power. Alright, what kind of tile do we want for drywall this time? Where is it? How about the blue stripes? Sure. Looks just more like blue corners. Oh, I should have oriented this better. Oh well, whatever. Alright, then hydro sensor, vent, just to get our water in there initially. Once we're all done with this, we'll hook the rest of this up. Then we just need to extend our cooling loop. Oh, we never hooked up our cooling loop to begin with. Getting too distracted with all that banshee wailing. I'll just debug this part down here just so that it can be done faster. Alright, so for this area down here, whenever you're going to be cooling stuff, you're definitely going to want to build it out of radiant pipe the best you can. Only because the radiant pipe will help exchange its temperatures with the cool water around it. So the expectation is like, you could have basically whatever liquid you wanted in here, but this will need to be remain cold by some metric. I will definitely have a lot of videos about this, or I'll have walkthroughs and stuff like that that you can check out. Just build it out like that. Get some igneous rock down here. And I'll turn my cheating tools off. There we go. Okay, then we need to extend our blast shot line out. So something like that. And then our garbage line from this, basically. So anything that gets swept up by this, we're going to send it out there. I've never seen an issue. I don't know why I initially think about this, but I've never seen an issue with marking this as blast shot. I don't... Like, there's no real reason that it should take it and get rid of it. I don't know. Haven't seen any issues with it, but for some reason I'm always like a little bit worried about that. Okay, so now we got a reasonable amount of space reserved up by our meteor blasters. They kind of overlap each other a little bit. This is a pretty aggressive spacing, by the way. What are you doing? Whatever. The other ones will still work. So once we have a good amount of coverage here, again, those are separated by a mesh tile once, only so that they don't share their temperatures with anything that might land in here. If stuff lands in here, I don't really care. I just don't want it to heat up the rest of my setup here and have to spend energy cooling that back down. So now that we have glass, we can just set up our solar panels like that and just hook them straight up to power. And then once the rest of this gets all built out, oh, we need to hook up our automation here. Once the rest of this gets all built out, now once we get our cooling loop going, which it is not because I built these wrong. Gotta make sure you build your pipes the right way, which definitely can happen. Thank you for your help. There we go. Now that should flow the right way. Whoa. I must have misclicked. Why are they... Oh, I must have just not done this right. I'm just messing up left and right. People are running away. People are fighting. We got all kinds of stuff going on here. But you know what? At the end of the day, we got a space setup that's running. So our solar panels now have vision. And basically, they're just going to need to make sure that you have light that can pass through everything. So light can pass through this water. It can pass through these tiles. It can pass through the mesh tile. So now our solar panels are up and running and producing power for us. So you can just continue to expand in the same fashion left and right, as long as you have enough blast shot being continuously made to expand this. So that should be good. Actually, we need one more thing. Should probably build that in the background. And we need to connect up this pipe. So we should be good. Now we can just start just deleting the top here and kind of expanding out. But that's pretty much it. You could also use this to support your rockets, so you could build something so that a rocket could launch right in between here. You could also build wide enough that two of them could launch in between these without losing too much coverage. So yeah, that's the basic idea. Let's fast forward a little bit up until we are able to see everything in action, and that'll be it. Alright, been waiting around for a little while for a meteor shower to start, but then I remembered that you can spawn your own in the sandbox, so let's just see these meteor blasters in action so that we can call this video good. So, can just go in here. If you select your meteors, the rock meteor is the most annoying one. So I'll spawn one over here so you can see what it looks like. When it crashes down, it leaves all this awful hot regolith over here. So if I spawn those near there, it will still create some debris that will fall down into these areas, but that's why we have cooling. And I just realized I forgot to hook up the cooling to this one, so let's go ahead and do that really fast. Just gonna set it up like that. Oh, I'm still on, well, whatever. I guess it doesn't matter that much. I'm still on the debug mode, but let's just get this done really fast. So we'll come out here and delete that pipe. So I'm just going to disconnect the line earlier on. The polluted water will go away because it'll all disappear into space. Then once I have that, I can just deconstruct this. I have got all my auto building stuff on just to hurry this up a little bit. So get that reconnected like this, and then both of them are going to be cooled now. So anyway, fix that up. Yeah, so let's spawn a meteor and watch these things shoot it down. So if I spawn one here, it should shoot it. I'll slow it down so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Just kind of just destroys the meteor that's coming in. Any debris still falls, and it'll kind of fall into that area, but that's where the auto sweepers and everything is working to get all this regolith out of the way. It'll pile everything down into this little area down here, which you can use to then start shipping stuff that you want back into your base, or you can use that regolith for energy, because it is very hot. You can use it to, like, boil some water or something. But it's not going to be super useful a lot of the time, because a lot of the cooling will happen almost instantly when it hits this, because it gets split up. So, yeah, I mean, it'll knock down pretty much any type of meteor, so you could spawn, like, a gold meteor or something. I don't know, I didn't react. That was weird. There we go. I guess they wouldn't normally spawn down that low, but yeah, this will happen sometimes. Sometimes stuff will slip through if there's too many of them at a time, so, like, I don't really want to do this, but let's just destroy our setup here really fast. If it's, like, this dense, which it would never be in the real game, it'll just do this. It'll still make a mess. You might have to come out here and dig it out, but even still, everything's still fine. They can come back and repair it. You can get stabilized again. And you're generating pretty good amount of power from these solar panels while they're up, so anyway, that's it. This is a new series, like I mentioned, so if there's any bit of feedback you guys have about how you like this video or not, please let me know, and I will continue to make more builds that are similar to this, and especially things that you guys are looking for. So let me know what you want to see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video really soon, as soon as Pei stops banshee wailing. Okay, bye.